Okay, it's time for another live stream, as I say, as I've often said, and I'm back for a live stream here, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about a few things. And of course, yes, today is, I'm afraid, and this is truthfully the last live stream of the my app's playing up a bit here. Sorry, the last live stream of the year. Before I start, actually, as is customary at the moment on this channel with my hair situation, got to give that final brush, get that brush in for the final brush. You know what I mean? Final one for the moment, and it's great to have you all in here. This is the final live stream for the year. I hope you can all hear me. I've got the mic down here today because I know I'm going to knock it off. I'm going to bump it off myself if I have it on my person right now. Calte, Travelling Whiskey Reviews, Dram, thank you all for joining in. It's the last live stream of the year, as I said. And like an idiot, this is a new phone that I'm on here. My old streaming phone is actually the one that I'm using for my comments now. This is like a true numbskull. I actually broke my new phone and I got it fixed today. So it probably looks a bit normal again now, hopefully, or a bit clearer, or I don't know. Look, I'm glad that we're at this point that I'm able to I'm able to do that. Hi Jen, hi Gaucho, SM Yan. Very sad for the last live stream of 2019. Calte, it's just a 2-week break. It's all it is. I've committed to 8 p.m. every single night now for probably more than 6 months. I don't actually remember the exact date I started, but I know I started around June. So it means that I sort of started around June because I just got back from Scotland, and it was like, you know what, I had this blast of this lightning bolt idea to communicate something interesting every night, take your questions, have a bit of a blast, have a bit of fun, try a few drams, and discuss a few things around whiskey. And we've discussed so much in the last 6 months, and I feel like we're still scratching the surface, which is really exciting. And I really want to thank you all for being a part of this, for tuning in each night, for talking to me about it. It's a 2-week break. I'll be back first thing 2020. I anticipate I'll be back around the 1st, around New Year's Day. I'll do a New Year's stream. It'll be a New Year's Dram stream. Depending on how weary I am from New Year's Eve, I don't know whether I'll be drinking on New Year's Day, but at least we'll do a live stream and we'll discuss something and maybe talk a bit about what's coming up in 2020. That might be a really exciting stream. But R6.1 in the glass. Oh, good to hear. Nick Glover, is that you, Nick Glover? As in Nick Glover, do I know you? Matt Music MW, if you've not been in here before, Nick, welcome. June, yes, June is correct. Mid-June or July. No, it was definitely June. It was definitely around mid-June I started. So, this was definitely in the winter streams. I remember there was some of the winter streams there, yeah. I'm glad to hear that R6.1 is in the glass. Boss Tripsy joined. Good to see you. Look, tonight is the last stream for the year. Hold on. I just want to preface that by saying that I'm going to be doing more streams and more live and more stories still for the rest of the year. But this is the last official 8 p.m. one for now. We'll get back into it next year. We'll outline a schedule. See if I can maintain daily. We're going to see what we can do with that next year. And go from there. Because it's really exciting, a chance for me to talk to you guys, talk about a few things, and get a few things on the road. I've got a stack of outturns and unfiltered here. I don't really need that many, so I'm going to put them over there. And I've got my final live stream dram for the year. I've talked about this one before, G4.18. I don't know the grain codes off the top of my head, but that's really nice because I get to enjoy them without worrying about the distillery too much. This is called the Paradise Patisserie. It came out in, I think, October or November, I think. And it is a 29-year-old single cask, single grain whiskey, 54.7%, 1989, a second fill lowland whiskey. And I'm going to use our SCS, our single cask spirits glass for this one. I'm going to pour a nice summary dram's worth of that. And it's in the Juicy Oak and Vanilla profile. And it's this was featured at the Archie Rose pop-up, among other places. And this is all that's left, really. And I wanted to share this with you. Start my evening off with a nice light floral, fruity, juicy, oaky kind of vanilla-y grain whiskey. I've talked to you before on the stream about, I think grain whiskey is tremendously underrated. And I truly stand by that comment. We're often focusing on the malt whiskey distilleries, and I think on a beginner level, we often focus too much on like the superstar distilleries. We look at things like everyone wants to talk about, the Ardbegs, the Mortlacs, the Springbanks of the world. That's great. They make great whiskey, don't get me wrong. And there's a reason they have a cult-like status because they make a great whiskey. But then you can often, I think the next intermediate level is to focus on the distilleries that are the underdogs. The codes and distillery names you don't see are very often the Milton Duffs, the Balmenaks, the Linkwoods, the Longmorns, things like that, which you are often Glenlossie. And so codes like that, which you look at and go, they're fantastic and often produce a whiskey that I would say is on par, if not better, than some of the superstar distilleries. And then the third level of expert category, I'd say, is when you start to really appreciate grain whiskey for all of its merits without going, oh, it's just a filler for blends. It absolutely is not. It can have a delightful, in this case, 29-year-old complexity to it. I'm going to let that sit for a moment and let that open up. The tens, Calta, you're right, the Kens. I see an outturned book. Nice melons, thanks. Oh, it sounds like my kind of whiskey. Yep, basic chocolates. It's absolutely my kind of whiskey as well. Sally, good to see you. T. Dimitriou, good to see you. This is my last official live stream for the year. But what does that mean? It means you're still going to get great content and great stories from the society and from myself and from Andrew over the next 2 weeks. Well, less so Andrew. Andrew's on holiday, and I wish him all the best. But you're still going to get lots from the society coming through in the next 2 weeks leading up to New Year's anyway. We'll still be sharing our experiences, and both on Facebook, Instagram, and in email, and in Twitter, and everything we're on. And of course, but as well as that, you'll also get, we'll come back more formally next year. It's just a 2-week break off the live streams. I've been doing it for 6 months straight, for those who've just missed my early rant on that. Caribbean whiskey drinker, Richie Fernando, good to see you all. Thanks for joining in. Okay. Now, I'm going to jump out of this screen here for a second, and I'm going to go to some of the questions that we got on the live stream, on the live stream question response that we're asking for in the story earlier today, which is really exciting. So, Calte asks, cheeky Sunday rant or January outturn sneak peek? Don't have much of a rant for you because I'm in a really good mood, and there's nothing really that's really there is one small rant. If I get to it at the end, I get to it. I can't see your comments and questions on the stream right now because I'm on the questions page of Instagram. Anyway, outturn. You know what? I'm going to share with you right now the cover. I hope you can see that okay. There we go. I'm not going to share much more right now, but there's that cover. Watermelon Drams, we call it. It's our summary edition, of course. January outturn's always a bit of a lighter edition, if you like. It's always sort of drams that are meant for summer dramming. There's warm weather kind of drams. Hence the idea of diving into a fresh selection of summery single casks alongside our first experiences for 2020 inside. This is super exciting. A full year ahead. I'm going to show that cover once more. Hope you can see that one okay. And I've got another question from Calte there. I'm going to get to that question in a second. Calte asks, what are the best highlights and achievements that you and the society made and what you are thankful for in 2019? Really good question. I'll come back to that one. Lucabio asks, what would you suggest as a good entry to non-peated and peated whiskey for a non-drinker whiskey drinker? Honestly, I know this sounds completely on brand, but I mean it. Peat Fairy. Grab a bottle of Peat Fairy for your peated friend, for someone who's enjoying peated whiskey for the first time. It's a blended malt, so it's a bit rounder. It's a bit a bit rounder and a bit sort of like smooth than, I hate using that word, but it's smoother than most peated whiskies. Often if you start beginners on Lafroig 10 or Ardbeg 10 or something, it can be a bit much. That's why even if you were trying a Lafroig Select, I know it's not my favourite peated whiskey, but it gets a lot of beginners into the category, or something like a Peat Fairy. Lacabio, when it comes to non-peated whiskies, really the world's your oyster. There's so much good non-peated whiskey out there, but let's start with something, even something like a Glenfiddich 12 is so many people's benchmark, or start with something like that is for a non-whiskey drinker that's got that the light pear drops and floral notes that aren't too offensive, and nice light floral sort of notes to that. Just Dramming asks, how far along maturation does the society typically purchase a barrel? Just Dramming, that's a big question. We typically purchase a lot of whiskey at new make level, a lot of whiskey at a young level, a lot of 0 to 3 year old spirit. We then mature it ourselves in our warehouse, where therefore we control the wood policy and maturation of that cask. Some casks, of course, we buy at full maturation, but that's less and less common because we're buying direct from the source and controlling that policy of the spirit and the wood. I might delve into that a bit further next year. That's a big question, though. Who comes up with the bottle names? Is the individual or the entire tasting panel? It's a mixture. I believe it's a mixture at the moment. It's normally an individual that sort of signs off on it that says, I want to call it this, but it's often the culmination of the tasting notes. So if it's if someone says, this whiskey has iodine and gauze notes, then one of the whiskeys like a 53-275 might be gauze in effect, a bit of fun, a bit of pun. And Whiskey and Drinkies asks, you want to hear one final rant? I said I don't really have a rant tonight, but what's one annoying thing that whiskey influencers do? Yes. You know what? I think that's a discussion for another time, if I'm being completely honest, because there's a lot in that. There's a lot of things to unpack there. What are one things that whiskey drinkers do, and what does it and what annoys me about whiskey influences, I should say, influenzas, should I say? Look, there's a lot to unpack on that as well. Cream and chocolate is a great example of notes to name, says Calte. That's exactly right. Cream and chocolate and chocolate cream and malted barley was the name of that bottling you're referring to. That 46.79, cracking good whiskey. Seriously good whiskey, that one. That's opening up in the glass a bit now. That's lovely. It's all like there's so much depth to that spirit. Like nougat. Oh, it's lovely. I'm going to let that sit even a bit further. El Hotag joined. Good to see you, Laura. So yeah, a few things to go over here. Then it's okay. You know what? I'm going to answer those two last questions. Now, one of them was from Calte that asks, "What was the highlights and what you were thankful? What are the highlights of 2019 and what were you thankful for?" I mentioned the other night that I'm going to do a full video actually just for our YouTube screening, which will go on YouTube and Facebook, which will be a properly filmed one rather than a live stream, and it will be talking about what the highlights of 2019 for me were. I've actually listed a couple here just to touch on tonight. These are some of my highlights. Before I get to those, Calte, this is 54.7%. I don't think it needs a drop of water. I haven't tasted it without water yet, but I do often add water to whiskey. But as I've said before, I'm very cautious when it comes to old whiskey. In this case, 29-year-old single cask. I don't think it needs water. It's delicate. It's delicate and it's like nougat and even a tiny bit of fennel seed. But definitely like a buttered croissant as well. I guess that makes sense. It was called Paradise Patisserie. Tropical fruits, desiccated coconut, creme brulee, popcorn, ginger cake. Ah, oh, lovely. Okay, I'll let that sit. Whiskey and drinkies, I've been answering your questions. Okay, I'm going to name 4 things that I'm really thankful for this year in my last official live stream. 1, back in May this year, I went over to Scotland for our Branded Branch, it was called. Now, it's a yearly event which they bring in ambassadors and branch owners from all around the society over to the vaults, and it's generally about a week and a half of Branded Branch where we discuss things like new product development, outturn strategies for the year ahead, new product development. I think I said that twice. Marketing, overall development, partnerships, social media. It was just sort of like a full brand overview, so I can hear what the US branch are doing, maybe learn something off them. They can learn what we're doing, learn off us. Japan branch, China branch, US branch, us, UK, Germany, and the UK team, which was just fantastic. And it's I'd say for me, it was quite a grueling week in that the first week, because it's a lot of meetings, a lot of sort of catching up with people, and a lot of sort of working out what's going on, especially from May onwards, sort of May to May, or should I say May to April the following year, which was great. And we're sort of in the middle of that now, and we've been working towards a lot of strategies. Now, going to Scotland was great. Visiting a few distilleries is fantastic. But for me, the highlight of that trip was being asked to host the Facial Old and Rare SMWS event at Isla House. We opened up 6 whiskies from the Society's history, including a new 33 and a vintage 53 and all sorts of things in between, which was a really awesome opportunity for us to crack open and taste some of the rarest Isla spirits that the Society has ever bottled. And you know what? We won the award for best Isla bottlings at the IBC this year, and it goes to show, because the bottlings we released this year from Isla distilleries, I think, were some of the best whiskies we've ever had, which is fantastic. Whiskey and drinkies. Yes, I'm answering your question about influences. Calby Chan, joined just in time, indeed. Scott Fitzsimons joined just in time. Good. Speaking of new products, is there any new merch and swag to come in 2020? Shirts, glassware, and general swag? Calte, I'll get to that question. Yes, there is, in a nutshell. I can't talk about what it is yet, but we are working on some new products for members which are outside of just whiskey and just spirits. So we're working on some pretty awesome little products, actually, and they're going to be good fun, and I think they'll really add to the whole member experience, especially internationally. So I'll talk more about them in the new year. I can't talk about it yet, sorry. But So one of the first things I'm thankful for this year is being able to host the Old and Rare Isla tasting in Isla House, which was just fantastic. It's a historic building that it has hotels on the top floor and sort of a bar and restaurant and hosting room, if you like, a dining room downstairs, and just having an awesome weather day of sports outside, things like archery and ring toss and things like that outside, whilst drowning on the inside and drowning outside as well, and just wandering around the grounds, enjoying great whiskey. And hosting, for me, hosting an event in Isla was just, that's a huge honour. That's amazing to be asked. I mean, there's something like 70 society ambassadors, I don't know how many there are, quite a lot, around the world, and being asked as the Australian ambassador to host over there was a huge honour. Second thing I'm hugely thankful for this year is the Vault 1682 dinner. This was an event that happened at Bentley Restaurant back in September, I'll say, or dare I say early October. The exact date I'll have to look at. It's on my sheet somewhere. The Vault's dinner at Bentley Restaurant, which was a 4-course dinner and a 12-course drams, 12 courses of drams featuring all paper label vintage era, even dot ones from 1970s, 70s 33s, vintage 24s, things like 123.1, 30.1, things like that, was amazing. That event, that actual whole experience took me months and months to prepare, including sourcing bottles from our director's stash, really opening up the full archives of the society this year. That's something that we see these bottles sitting around, especially from Andre and John's collectors, the old directors of the society. We see them sitting around in their collections, and we thought, it would be a shame for them not to be enjoyed, open and enjoyed. And I had to, bit of arm twisting, but I got them to agree to sell them to me in a sense, and just say, well, you know what, we'll make the most of this and open up some of the best whiskies ever bottled. And for 36 guests in that room that night, that was quite an experience. That was quite a night. And I thank you if you're tuning in, if you're watching this now or later or whenever, if you were there that night, I really appreciate it. The full menu, we'll have some spare copies of the full menu going up online shortly as well. Bentley is one of my favourite restaurants. Malia Barry, I couldn't agree more. It's fantastic. The food and service is second to none. It's fantastic. Whiskey Holic joined, good to see you. Whiskey Almighty Club, Almaty Club, I should say, good to see you. The third of the 4 things I want to touch on tonight. You should have told me I had some junk on my shoulders. Sorry. The third thing you should have. The third thing I want to talk about tonight is, of course, around October this year. I won the. This is a personal win for me. I won the Scotch Whisky Ambassador of the Year for the Icons of Whisky, and because I like showing off. Here we go. I have it here again. Bam! An Icon of Whisky. Winner Matt Bailey, Scotch Malt Whisky Society Australia. Yes, I'm going to show that off. I don't care. Look, it's extremely exciting for me. It's a huge win for me, and I'm really excited that I got not just nominated but won the Scotch Whisky category. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but I mean this. I was up against the likes of the Diageos and Pernots of the world, and for the society, I think this is the first time ever in the international history of the society that one of their ambassadors has won this award, which is hugely meaningful to me. And it means a lot that I was even nominated in the first place, and being able to share that being able to share my expertise and being able to have that recognition in the industry for members and for the industry alike is huge. Is just really it just means a lot to me. I can't put that into words. It means a lot to me. So thank you, Icons, and thank you, Doug and Ken, and thank you to the whole team behind everything, and Whiskey Magazine especially. The junk on the shoulders is your head. That won't brush off. Scott, show us your pens. Okay, look, and the fourth thing I want to touch on, which I'm hugely thankful for this year, is the IBCs. For those who missed the news, or we didn't really email blast this yet, because there's a lot going on, but I will say that the Scotch Malt Whisky Society won just last week the Independent Bottler of the Year again. This is a hat trick for us. This is the 3rd time in a row consecutively we've won that award, and 7th time in 10 years we've won it. So that's huge. I mean, that's massive for us to be recognised that many times as the Independent Bottler of the Year. And the IBCs are very, very stringent about their awarding process. It's not like some of these awards where you're buying gold medals to put on your bottles kind of thing. This is actually quite a prestigious award, and one that we're very proud to have won internationally. So there's 4 things for you. Hosting in Scotland, the Vault's dinner, winning an Icon, and the Society winning an IBC. They're 4 of about 20 things that I want to put in the main video, which of course I'll let you all know about on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube when we get closer to the full publishing date. Three-peat, he says. Well-deserved, Marley Barry says. Three-peat says Whiskey Gaucho. Three-peat, I don't exactly know what that means, but I'll take it. Calby Chan, well-deserved, show it off for sure. Thank you, Calby. I really appreciate it. One of the last questions I got was from Whiskey and Drinkies, who asks about whiskey influences. What's some of the most cringy things from whiskey influences can I name? Of course, I'm not going to name any whiskey influences, but I'll tell you what. I've had some fascinating messages over the last few months, especially from people wanting to either send me their spirits to review or send me a glass, or I had a great one wanting to send some really weird looking whiskey decanter, which I don't really use decanters, but it was like, no, I don't do that. I'm sorry. We don't take freebies for promoting. I don't promote even society whiskies on this channel. Sorry, I'll move that out of the way as I say that. But it's true. I don't promote society whiskies on this channel. I'm not about, as I said before, I don't do reviews on here. It's all about talking about whiskey and enjoying the experience around it, rather than the, selling it or talking about it in a sort of a promotional way. So I'm not going to talk about promoting some water jug or equivalent on a channel if it's not really what we're about. And I think some people miss that point, that good content and learning about whiskey is not something that can be bought by others. I think it has to be something that should be passed on and should be shared around. And it's not like, I'll tell you more, or you might win this, or something kind of thing. I think that's a bit sort of, anyway. That's a personal opinion about it, but I think it's that's really quite important. So yeah, and actually there is a fifth one. There is a fifth one about one of my absolute highlights from this year. I've almost forgotten about this because I've got a list here of 20 of them, as I said, 30 almost. One of the things that I'll say, which was a huge highlight for us, and Scotty, if you're still watching, this one is a big shout out to you. A huge highlight for us this year as well, which will be the fifth and final one I'll talk about, is having the society stage at Oak Barrel Whiskey Fair this year, and having, of course, the Oak Barrel involved with the Whiskey Champs every second year as well, is massive for us as well. So having that stage and engaging with the whiskey community of Australia on that stage it's just a totally different point of difference. And what it meant for us was that whilst there was lots of great exhibitors and great whiskey on the ground, it meant that people could go up the stairs, sit on the stage, take a seat, and actually enjoy and sit down and actually be a part of like this little whiskey bar setup that we'd made. And we didn't even need to dress the room much. It's not like that. It was just sort of like, it was a case of putting two big tables, putting some whiskey around it, having a bit of fun. And that was what it's about. It's like talking to people about good whiskey, having a chat, having a dram, and people enjoying society. Can't ask for more than that. Do you consider yourself as an influencer of whiskey? Caltay asks. You know what? I feel like it's a loaded question, but I'll answer it anyway. I don't consider myself an influencer. No, I don't like using that word. I would consider myself a part of the whiskey industry, just like Scotty is, just like many of you are who watch this. I'd say I'm proudly a part of it. I don't, but I don't influence. Well, maybe I do. Look, I don't know. I don't really think about it in those terms. It's like, and also, by the way, let's be honest, whiskey influencer these days is a bit of, Instagram influencer or whatever is a bit of an ugly term, isn't it? It's like, are you one of those people, sort of like, I'll eat at a restaurant for free and I'll post about it on social media. They get hauled over the coals these days, of course. And there's a part of me that sees when dishes come out at a restaurant or a cafe or something, and there's people taking endless photos before the food goes cold. And it's like, what have we become? I don't like that either. But it's, if I can snap a photo here or there of what we're doing and the adventures we're having, then that's what it's about. But in terms of being an influencer, no, I would not use that word. There you go. That was an awesome day, SM Yan says. Look, SM Yan, Liam, I've got to say a huge shout out to you as well for helping out at very short notice as well, and donning a society t-shirt and being a part of the community that day and helping us out. That was huge. Is the Whiskey Fair around August in Sydney? Yes, I believe it is, Caltay. It's around August each year. The exact date moves a little bit, I'm sure, but I remember it being around the end of August. My dates with this year have been such a blur. Everything goes so fast. And I was hosting last night with the Blue Mountains Whiskey Club, so huge shout out to them. That was a great night, and I hope to see you guys at another event soon. So many other things this year. Archie's pop-up, of course, the Super Normal Whiskey Lunch, the Franz Scherer returning, the Maestro returning, our festival feasts and collaborations with Starwood this year. Huge shout out to Andy Emmons Dave Vitale and the whole team at Starwood. Big shout out to you guys. I really appreciate you working with us so closely this year and us bringing so many of our members. And huge shout out, of course, to our partner bar network. And I'll say especially to both Whiskey and Element, who have outdone themselves again as a society partner bar this year. And another huge shout out to the Grumpy Piper as our newest partner bar still up in Launceston there. Up in Launceston, down in Launceston. Yes, you know Launceston. Look, there's been so many things this year that, and even starting with our Bar Lafayette pop-up I talked about the other night, that we're looking forward to, bringing awesome experiences back to members again in 2020, as we have this year, and it's been an absolute hoot. I hope you've got some awesome festive jams lined up. The Port Charlotte night was a really good job too. I'll call that as one of my standouts. The Brook Laddie night, Liam, I think you mean. Yeah, the straight up, the Brook Laddie night. It did feature some Port Charlotte, of course, yes. That was a distillery focus night. You know what? I love distillery focus nights. And they're not hugely popular with members, I find sometimes. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But we do, this year we've had, last year we had the Glen Murray and a Glen Morangi focus nights. And this year we had a Brook Laddie focus night. We had a Glen Farkless focus night. And I'm sure there's one other. I'd have to remember. But yeah, look, I love doing distillery focus nights, and it's kind of a rare beast to get them because it's sort of like it's the culmination of either an international brand ambassador for that distillery, combined with us having some single casks available, and combined with their brand custodians in Australia, for lack of a better phrase, willing to collaborate. So it's sort of like it takes sort of three parties to come together to make those amazing evenings, and it's often quite difficult. So for us this year, it was definitely Glen Farkless and Brook Laddie were the big ones. And but yeah, it's almost like a perfect storm when it happens. It's great though. Will there be a return to the land of the rising sun in 2020? You mean will we have some? What does that mean? Return to the land of the rising sun. Do you mean will there be Japanese whiskies? Yes, there will be. There we go. Xmas Jams coming in the post. 2020, the year of vodka. God, kill me now. hey, there's some good vodka out there. But I just don't generally enjoy it myself as a spirit. It's okay not to enjoy a certain spirit. Even great ones I've tried some great vodkas. Big shout out to Fire Drum. I remember enjoying Fire Drum, a few others as well. But look, I just don't. For me, it's a bit like vermouth. I've got some lovely vermouths on the shelf. I just don't drink them regularly. Same with cognac for me. I like cognac. I just don't generally reach for it very often. It sits on the shelf. I just generally want to, if I'm going to take up my palate time with something in the evening or day or evening, I want it to be something good from whiskey. SNWS gin. Calto, we've already had some SNWS gin. Earlier this year, we had the first ever. We had the GN 1.2, and then I think in February, keep your eyes peeled, February, March for another Society gin. So there's one coming, don't worry. We've got more coming. There's more gin coming. Tequila? No, I don't think so, Cal. Not yet. Not yet or not. I don't know. Look, it's never say never, but I don't think it's in the pipeline. What else? Look, there's a lot going on, of course. And I hope for those who got their Society Advent calendars are enjoying a dram each day. I know John Buffard is, so good on him. If you're not following his posts in the group and following with absolute envy that he got one of those packs, then do so. But otherwise, what I'll do is I've got a SNWS AU 2020. Hell yes. SNWS AU 20. That's a trending hashtag right now. No, it's not really, but that'll be fun. Also, by the way, actually, another small highlight from this year, which I will just remark on. Earlier this year, back in May, when I was over in Scotland, I did a video interview of Ewan Campbell from the Vaults, from our SNWS UK whiskey team, and he was fantastic. It was the first time he'd ever been on video. And he did great, and even his cat did even better as well. You know what a great year it's been. I really want to thank you all. This is my last official live stream. I've said official because, like I say, I might squeeze one or two more in between now and the end of the year. Nothing really like the nightly ones I've been doing for the last 6 months. And this has been an absolute blast. I really want to thank you all again for tuning in. I'm going to call it there for the night. And have a great Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, have a great festive season, a great holiday, whatever you want to call it. And I really appreciate you all being a part of this stream, asking some great questions. And as I said at the beginning, I think we're really just digging into the surface at the moment. And we're really digging a bit deeper in next year, which is super exciting. And I'll see you all in 2020. Happy New Year to you as well. And I'll see you on the 1st of January, I believe. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gaucho, Sally, Matt Music, Aussie cigar smoker. Really enjoy it, and really enjoy everything we've been talking about, and you guys being a part of this journey with the SMWS here in Australia. Merry Christmas. See you soon.